Good evening, folks. This is Ron with the Emergency Management Associates. We want to welcome everybody here that has been joining us, and anybody else that will be joining us tonight or on a delayed broadcast. Please know that you're more than welcome to be here. We're glad to have you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here on the Emergency Management Associates broadcast with us tonight. We are going to skip the preliminary part of the program that we usually do with the National Anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance. I am going to give you some up-to-minute information on the fires here in the United States and literally all around the world. Before I get started with the United States, there are fires on every continent around the world. As I spoke of last night, there are fires in Central Africa. There's fires in northern Australia and other places around Australia. There are fires in New Zealand. There are fires in Indonesia. There are fires in Japan. There are fires in Russia and China, India. There are fires in Europe, in Greece. We're going to talk about Greece just for a few minutes tonight as well. Fires in Italy, fires all over Europe, literally. Folks, this is not a joke. This is real. Now, while some may say what I'm going to talk about tonight is political, that is an understatement. Some people are going to possibly say tonight, Ron, you're exaggerating. Wrong. I've got plenty of data to back up everything that I'm going to say. For some people tonight, you're going to see things that you may not have seen or heard elsewhere. And that's a good thing. You're going to hear from Governor Green in Hawaii. And I'm going to talk about Hawaii a great deal tonight. I'm going to step away from the politics that they have wanted me to talk about, and I'm going to tell you the truth about what is really going on in Hawaii. I'm not going to exaggerate. I'm not going to, what shall I say, try to protect anybody. I'm tired of being lied to. I'm tired of being taken advantage of. And I'm going to lay it on the line for everybody. Folks, this is going to anger a lot of people, and I am sure of that. YouTube will not be happy with me because up until now, I have toed the line. And I may not toe the line tonight. I'm just going to tell you. What I'm going to tell you tonight is not going to be sweet and pretty. It's not going to be wrapped up in a pretty little Christmas birthday type package. I'm going to show you destruction. I'm going to show you that things are not pretty anywhere. When many of our people everywhere around the world are being affected by what's going on, I've already told you that I will be telling you the truth. And tonight, you're going to hear it. Please, folks, if you have anybody that you can contact tonight or advise them to watch this program tonight, I urge you to do so. Also, don't hesitate to give us a thumbs up. Please do not just stick around for a few minutes. I'm going to give you information that you're going to want to hear, that you're going to need to hear, and like I said, it's not wrapped up in a pretty little bow. That you can take to the bank. Vicky K is here. Howdy from the free state of Florida. It is probably freer than other states. However, Vicky, did you know you have some wildfires in Florida as well? I kid you not. I kid you not, guys. Things are not pretty anywhere. Things are not pretty anywhere. Let me show you fires in North America. Right here. Let me enlarge this so you can really see what I'm talking about tonight. Look what's going on. Up into Canada as well. We talked about Canada before. Nova Scotia wildfires. Northeastern Canada wildfires. All over Western Canada and all over into Alaska as well. Look at the wildfires from the central Midwest of the United States extending over to the East Coast. See all that red area, guys? Guess what? Those are fires. See the fire flames that they've put here in animation? Those are wildfires. Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, California. Stretching all over the place, guys. It is no small wonder why people are getting sick from the smoke. This is no joke. I told you that I was going to show you more information about fires around the world. Folks, I have been spending most of the day collecting information that I wanted to show you tonight. And the more and more information that I got tonight delayed my coming on the air, because there's so much to talk about. And I kid you not, we're going to show it to you tonight. First off, Greece. Look at this. The BBC World News out of Great Britain, England, shows us there's a huge fire over in Greece, and it has killed at least one other person and possibly upwards of 4 people. A family in Greece burned by wildfire. I saw a video that I'm not allowed to show you. Not being allowed to show you. It is terrible. It's not good at all. Folks, I wanted to show you a fire that I will show you tomorrow. Over in Tenerife, Canary Islands. One of the most visited islands in the Canary Islands. On fire. Their national forest is burned. Their tourist areas have burned. Over 2,400 people have been evacuated from Tenerife, Canary Islands in the past 3 or 4 days. 2,400 people, including tourists, evacuated off probably the most visited tourist place in the Canary Islands, Tenerife Island. Not pretty. Let's go over to the Pacific Northwest. Okay? Wildfires all over Washington. This is just part of it. And folks, it's not pretty there. Firefighters are having to contend with people that launch drones into the fire area. Then they're having to contend with drones interfering with the firefighting efforts. Folks, if any of you who are watching my program operate drones in the Pacific Northwest, and I'm not just talking about Canada, Washington, and or Oregon, and even into California. If you have drones, stay out. Stay out of the fire areas. You have no business being there. I don't care whether you're a citizen journalist or not. Stay out of the fire areas. Get your information from news crews. Get your information from the fire department news releases. That's what you should be doing. Stay out of the fire areas. You are endangering firefighting efforts and you're endangering fire crews' lives. Stay out of the fire areas. I cannot emphasize this enough. Now, earlier today, I was chastised by one of the citizen journalists, and I won't even go there to identify him. I'm not going to give him the credence that he wants and seeks. I can go anywhere I want, he said. I can do anything I want. Wrong. And I'm hoping police and firefighters can arrest this individual. Yes, firefighters can make arrests. True story. I kid you not. Now, firefighting crews going on over here in Spokane. I want to show you this because it's very important that you understand what exactly is going on. This is News 4.
Now on 4 News Now at 6, catastrophic fires rage on for the 4th day in the inland Northwest. Team coverage on Spokane County's state of emergency.
Rain is on the way to help our firefighters, plus when you can breathe a little easier with smoke clearing in your first alert forecast.
And the I-90 detour nightmare is over. See how crews work to get the interstate reopened. You're watching 4 News Now at 6. Nearly 4,000 people forced to evacuate can return to their homes in Medical Lake tonight. Higher humidity and cooler temperatures are helping firefighters control hot spots at the Gray Fire. It is still active and only 10% contained. Near Elk, Washington, crews are focused on protecting homes. Now with the help of aircraft, since visibility has improved, the Oregon Road Fire is proving more challenging for firefighters who are dealing with steep terrain. It is a state of emergency in Spokane County and firefighters are stretched thin. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kirsten O'Connor, joined by our chief meteorologist, Chris Crocker, with some good news for those crews on the fire lines.
Well, as you mentioned, the cooler temperatures, the higher humidity. Now, if we could just add some rain to go along with it. Taking a look at our satellite and radar, we have been very close to getting some precipitation, but it has stayed to the south and east, coming almost to the Spokane County border, but we're seeing that falling across the LC Valley into the central panhandle. Taking a look now at our forecast radar, starting off at our current time, our hopes for evening precipitation seem to dry out. However, as we get into the overnight, we have another round of wet weather coming in and a better chance to see some rain possibly some thunderstorms tomorrow morning. Here's 9 o'clock tomorrow morning with some heavier precipitation before we begin drying out again. Our chance of rain throughout the day tomorrow up to 80% at 7, 8, 9 o'clock. Then it goes down to 60% and then finally really tapers off tomorrow evening. As Kirsten mentioned, we do have some clearer air. Our air quality has improved just in the last hour. We've gone from unhealthy to unhealthy for sensitive groups in Spokane. Up around Green Bluff, Coeur d'Alene, and Hayden Lake are in the moderate range. And we've got some of those coveted green squares on Turnbull National Wildlife Refuge, Rosalia, and St. Mary's. And some of that clear air is still pushing its way further to the north. However, with those fires still going, we're going to be battling our air quality for a while. Here is something that doesn't show up on the radar, but which is really helping firefighters. Our relative humidity right now, 63% in Cheney, 57% at the airport, 58% at Fairchild Air Force Base. Now, these numbers compare to low single digits on Friday. We are as low as 4% on Friday, and that is a big help, again, along with those temperatures.
Okay, that was a report from KXLY out of Spokane, Channel 4. Folks, these fires were bad. I reported about the fire around Fairchild Air Force Base and how even the Air Force Base was evacuating its personnel to local areas and their hotels on the base to make sure the residents that were off base got clear of the fires. That's how bad those were. Now, hopefully, that is good news for them. But folks, it continues. It continues. Over in Oregon, look what's happening in Oregon. Wildfires persist. Okay? They're persisting. A second person has died in wildfires in eastern Oregon state that ignited on Friday. KPTV Channel 12 in Oregon reported level 3 evacuation notice was issued for a brush fire near Vernonia, Vernonia, Oregon. Go now. Please, folks, if you see fire anywhere, get out. Don't risk staying there and then being told to leave. If you do that, you're risking your own life and the life of your family. You're also risking first responders and firefighters' lives to go in and tell you to leave. Get out while the getting's good. If you see fire or fire even nearly approaching where you live, get out. I've been talking about writing emergency preparedness plans. Some people think it's only for earthquakes. Some people think it's not for them. Folks, it's for everybody. Earthquakes, fires, hurricanes, tornadoes. It could be because of a local event in your area that you don't even know about until emergency personnel tell you to leave. They do a reverse call and you get a telephone call saying that something has happened in your neighborhood, a gas leak or a major fire. It could be a tornado coming into your area. You may not know. You need to have an emergency plan. You need to have an emergency kit. You need to have a go bag. You need to have emergency food. Emergency food. You need to have a food storage plan so you know if you get low on one product to buy more and put it in a responding area behind your other older product. Use the older product first and the newer product later. And keep a rotating plan like that. You also need water, at least 1 to 3 gallons per person per day. You need to have a water storage plan as well. Make sure your car is in good shape, that it's registered. Make sure it has a full tank of fuel. You never know when you might have to leave your home in a hurry and get out on the road. But in getting out on the road, you may run out of fuel if you don't have a full tank. Make sure your car is in good working order. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck on the road. You may cause an accident, which is going to delay at least 1,000 cars behind you. It may cause multi-mile backup behind you because you were not prepared. Folks, it's not just a Boy Scout motto. This is a lifestyle. This is a lifestyle. We've been talking about this for 4.5 years here on YouTube. 4.5 years. People still are not listening. Look what happened over in LAHAINA in Maui, Hawaii, on the west side of Maui. Look what happened. Stores burned to the ground. Homes burned to the ground. We're going to be talking about that in just a minute. But what I'm telling you guys, we don't want you to risk your lives. Get out while the getting's good. Evacuate before you're being told. If you wait to be told, it might be too late, and you might be back in the pack of people trying to leave that have been gotten behind an accident scene or some other thing that's happened, and you're going to possibly burn to death. We're going to talk about that tonight. I kid you not, guys, tonight is not going to be any pretty picture for anyone. Okay? I'm not going to hide anything. I'm not going to hide anything. I am tired of bowing down and trying to kiss politicians' feet, being told that social media is going to spread the word about the Maui fire and everything is going to be pretty. It is not. Yes, we've told the truth about the Maui fire. But the investigator in me and the other investigations that are going on have revealed complicity. Complicity on the part of the politicians and the developers in Maui. And I kid you not, this is not going to be a pretty report. It's not going to be wrapped up pretty in a package. I'm giving you the straight scoop here tonight. There are going to be probably a great many people that are going to hate me after tonight. I've said that before and I'll say it again. But at this point, I really don't give a damn. That's how mad I am at this point. I am pissed. Now, I have sent a message to Dave Hodges that I was going to share excerpts from his program from several hours ago. This is a very important program. I urge you to go over to Dave Hodges later and give him some love on his program. Subscribe to his channels. He gives awesome, important, and frankly, vital information. I've left Dave messages before. I have been following him for years now. I want you to hear his report. I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 minutes of his report. Please pay close attention. What Dave is going to say here right now everybody needs to hear?
Let's talk about what's going on in Maui. Not only in Lahaina did they block the exits, that would be Peltier's little police department there, with the same efficiency in which he ran the Vegas situation. And people by the scores are on all the social media, particularly TikTok. And I'm not a TikTok fan, as you know, but they are really detailing what happened. Being blocked from leaving. Well, now that the crisis, immediate life-threatening crisis, has mitigated somewhat. I mean, there's still the problems with disease, hunger, not getting life-saving medications, but the fire danger is basically over. However, that would be Governor Gangrene, the lovely mayor of Lahaina. How did he ever get elected? The manager of the water, hey, jackass. Water puts out fires. And then, of course, all these other public officials, guess what? They don't want the people in Lahaina talking to people like me. They don't want them making videos on social media. They're not doing a very good job of stopping them. But listen to this. For all of Lahaina and West Maui and all the internet loss they've had, the governor has put one Wi-Fi truck near the parking lot by the former Safeway. If you've been to Lahaina, you know what I'm talking about. One Wi-Fi truck. They don't want people talking. Now, here's the good news. Seems like I've been praising Elon Musk a lot lately. Keep doing this, Elon. You might win me over. Right now, I'm skeptical. Anyway, he has done a wonderful thing. He's gone into some of these neighborhoods, his people have, and they've hooked up Starlink. That's how you're seeing some of the stuff you're seeing on TikTok, YouTube, Rumble, all these media sites. And that's largely because of Elon Musk. Why don't they want the locals talking to you? Might you hear the message? They're already underway stealing our land, taking advantage of the crisis. Because that's what we're hearing from the ones we're talking to. Ladies and gentlemen, this thing stinks so bad, it's unbelievable. And I have one more tidbit of information to pass along. Okay? Let me get my facts in order here. Okay, I just want to make sure I quote this correctly. All right. We know that the alloy on tires melted. For that to happen, the temperature would have to be 2,250 degrees to 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. The wildfire burned at under 1,500 degrees. That's standard. That's an open question, isn't it? Why the discrepancy? What are we looking at here? Should this be looked into? Well, personally, I think it should be. I'm just glad to bring this information to your attention because I got to tell you, the people at the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberg, all these nefarious types that want their world government and to collapse America, they got to be pissed at Governor Gangrene because of the way they didn't handle this. This is galvanizing the country. The people are angry like I have never seen, and I wouldn't have to say a word, but I see anger everywhere. I talked about this a couple of days ago, Joe Biden at a Michigan Democratic event. Right? I think they want to hear the two-term president who was loved by the Democrats speak. They wouldn't let him talk. And I don't think this is necessarily directed at him. But remember what I told you? F. Joe Biden. And they were trying, Obama was trying to silence the crowd any way he could. And they kept getting louder. They got a problem. And it's because of this. Would you please share this video far and wide, and the other videos that we've done? Would you please do that? This needs to become a rallying cry. It's the poster child, excuse my French, for, hi, we're from the government and we don't give a shit about you.
Okay? We're from the government. We don't give a crap about you. Remember what President Reagan said? If the government comes a-calling and they come a-knocking, don't answer the door, because if they say they're there to help you, They're there to take away something from you, possibly even your life. And that has been done a lot recently. We reported on a man in Utah about a week and a half ago. Yeah, he'd been making some verbal threats on Facebook against Biden. The FBI had already been there and talked to him, hoping that would shut him up. But he kept his tirade going on Facebook. It attracted some attention, more attention to the FBI. So, the FBI, who knew this guy, knew that he was over 300 pounds, that he was 75 years old and had a hard time moving around, had a hard time even getting out of bed or getting out of a chair. Yet, they raided his home at 6 a.m. in the morning. Yes, the FBI doesn't want anybody to struggle with them. So, while he was probably still asleep at 6 o'clock in the morning in a bed that he has a hard time getting out of, they raided his home and shot him to death. Yes, there's an investigation going. I completely understand that. But the investigation being done is being done by the Intelligence Division of the FBI, the Shooting Review Board for the FBI. Shouldn't it be done by an impartial law enforcement agency like the state of Utah? Yes, the Law Enforcement Bureau of the Utah State Patrol has its own investigative unit that investigates shooting. Yet, the FBI doesn't want anybody interfering in one of their cases. So they have their own people investigating their own shooting. And yes, we've been told by agents of the FBI that the investigative file is going to be this thick. I already told you 2 weeks ago when this happened that the FBI did not follow law enforcement protocol. Once you have a crime scene, whether someone else shoots at you and then you shoot to stop the assault, it is a crime scene when anything happens, no matter which side it happens on. Yet, instead of leaving the body inside the man's home where it belonged, they drug it out to the street to lay on a sidewalk covered with a sheet and the body draining blood onto the concrete and onto the sheet that covered it. So the entire neighborhood, neighbors and children around him, saw it. This is disgraceful. This is disgraceful. Vicky K says, Ron, question, how can the chief be the coroner? Exactly. Exactly. The FBI drug his body out to the street and left it there. The body was on the street for hours after that. I believe it was told to me that the body was there for 4 hours until someone, and I believe it was probably the Salt Lake County coroner, or actually it wouldn't be the Salt Lake County, it would be the Utah County coroner, because it was Utah County where it happened, in Provo, Utah. The Utah County coroner was probably the one that came and picked up the body. But again, how can they truly investigate what happened when the body bleeds out on the concrete and on the ground? They've already violated the protocol of any crime scene to secure the crime scene. To secure the crime scene and get in the investigative team to do the job. You see where I'm going with this? Okay? This was number 1 on my hit list for August. And folks, it's not going to get any prettier than this. Okay? And that's not very pretty at all. I am a former law enforcement officer that worked for the government. I know law enforcement protocol and the law. The FBI screwed it up. Screwed it up. Lamb as a Light said that is despicable, and I agree. An elderly 75-year-old disabled man was shot and murdered by a United States government law enforcement agency, supposedly the premier law enforcement agency in the world. Go figure. Go figure. Yeah, to say the least, I am pissed. I am angry. No, I am furious. Let me show you another video here that I want you to see. This is from Face the Nation on Sunday. This is Governor Green who will be speaking to you.
Go now to Hawaii's Governor Joshua Green in Honolulu. Good morning. Thank you for getting up so early, and I'm so sorry for what is going on in your state.
Thank you, Margaret.
Governor, can you tell us how many are still unaccounted for, and how long will it take to identify remains?
More than 1,000 are unaccounted for, about 1,050. It will take several weeks still. Some of the challenges are going to be extraordinary. As you reported, 85% of the land of the impact zone has been covered now by what amounts to an army of search and rescue teams and 41 dogs. So at 85% of the land's been covered. Now we go into the larger buildings, which require peeling back some of the floors and structures. That last 15% could take weeks. We do have extreme concerns that because of the temperature of the fire, the remains of those who have died, in some cases, may be impossible to recover meaningfully. So there are going to be people that are lost forever. And right now we're working obviously with the FBI and everyone on the ground to make sure that we do what we can to assess who's missing.
Did you know that the biggest mistake?
Okay. They're going to work with the FBI to help them find out what's missing and who's missing. You notice he said temperature of the fire? The temperature of the fire was very high, in excess of 1,500 to 1,700 degrees, more like 2,500 degrees, hot, very hot. What I'm going to tell you tonight, most people are not going to know about. Most people are not going to have this information. They're saying the water in LAHAINA is not safe. Other sources are saying that there's no water in LAHAINA. No water in West Maui. that the sources of water for LAHAINA have been cut off. Come on, politicians, you cannot have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. They first said that the water was cut off because of the electricity in the area having been cut off by the fire. Now we are being told otherwise. The truth of the matter has come out. It was not just the fire that cut off the water supply. Mr. Joseph Biden and his wife and the entourage of Washington people cascaded on to the island of Maui. And after giving hugs to the governor and Mr. Biden and his entourage got on the president's helicopter, Marine One. I'm sorry, got allergies. They got on Marine One and proceeded to tour the disaster scene on Maui. When President Biden returned there, he and his large entourage descended on West Maui and LAHAINA. When they descended on that area, folks, none of them wore masks. Many of you probably saw on your local news the news covering his visit to Maui. None of the people in his entourage were wearing any kind of face coverings. And yet, because of blowing ash and even smoke left over from the fire, the rescue teams in the area have been wearing masks and breathing apparatus. Yet not even the President of the United States and his wife and their entourage were wearing any face coverings at all. Biden told the people of Maui that they were going to rebuild Maui LAHAINA in the way the people want it to be built. Biden told the people that he and his administration would be focused on respecting sacred lands, cultures, and traditions. My question to all of you, and even the President and Mr. Gangrene Green, and yes, I'm trying to be kind, Governor Gangrene Green, and all the residents of Maui and Hawaii, what does the office of president ever have to do with the rebuilding of the community after a fire, or a hurricane, or earthquake? What does the office of the President of the United States ever have to do with the rebuilding of a community after a fire, a hurricane, or earthquake, or any other disaster? The office of the President can do nothing. Let me explain to you what happens when a disaster hits. And it doesn't matter whether it's Hawaii, whether it's Philadelphia, whether it's Washington, D.C., whether it's San Diego, California, or Detroit, Michigan, Spokane, Washington, or Miami, Florida. It doesn't matter where it is. This is a protocol that must be followed for any town, city, or state to get any help from the federal government. First, the mayor or the town council from that area must call the governor and ask for emergency aid and explain to the governor what has happened. At that point, if the governor deems it, the governor at that time can claim that that area is in a state of emergency, which means the governor is leveling the playing field and offering that city, state, or town the resources from that state to be able to provide that town the ability to fight whatever disaster happened and recover that area. Then, once the governor declares it a state of emergency, that governor has to call the President of the United States. The governor then explains to the President of the United States that a disaster has happened in such and such a city or town, and explain the entire circumstance to the President of the United States and tell him that the governor has already declared it a state of emergency. Then the President himself must come to the fact that this is indeed a disaster state of emergency. At that point in time, the President of the United States, with his federal power, can declare that city, town, and or state in a state of emergency, and at that point, the President of the United States offers full governmental assistance for that city, town, or state to be able to stop the disaster from further destroying that area and offer them assistance in recovering the communities, cities, or towns that got hit by the disaster. That's what happened over on Maui. Maui Mayor Mr. Bison called Governor Green. Governor Green then declared it a state of emergency. Then Governor Green called President Biden. And I don't often tell him or tell you that he's President Biden. I tell you that he is Mr. Biden, as far as I am concerned. And at that point in time, the President declared Maui to be a disaster area. And this past Friday, I believe he was over in Detroit or wherever he was visiting, and said he looked forward to going to Maui at some point in time once he was able to, and once things calmed down, where he could visit and not be in anyone's way. He chose yesterday, Monday, to visit Maui. 80% of the fire-destroyed area has been physically gone through by disaster discovery teams, including canine units, a dog and their handler, going through step by step in a grid fashion, covering that disaster footprint, trying to find bodies, trying to find where it started. And I'm going to cover how that happens in just a few minutes. But again, I'm going to ask you all the same question, as well as anyone in Hawaii that may be watching this. What does the Office of President of the United States ever have to do with the rebuilding of a community after fire, a hurricane, earthquake, or a rebuild? All he has to do is declare it a disaster area. He doesn't have to do anything else, because all of the help comes from the various agencies within the federal government. It all funnels into the area that's in the state of emergency. The president himself cannot do a darn thing. Nothing. Biden or any resident would have no say in this. Not Joseph Biden, not any resident would have anything to say about this. At that point, the city, town, or area would be declared a disaster area. And as such, teams from the city, state, and federal government would descend upon it and help recover the area. Folks, the fires there are still not completely out. Yet Mr. Biden went in there with his entourage, and not one of them was wearing a face covering. That's a real problem. If all the other rescue teams were wearing masks, face coverings, why are they not doing it? That is my biggest question right now. And I have other questions that we're going to talk about. Linda Covington says, look at the MSM coverage of January 6th. Oh yeah. Big time. Big time. And I can talk about that. Not tonight. Maybe I ought to go back and address that again, because we have talked about it. But folks, I am not a happy camper. Now, Mr. Biden spoke to the people of Maui and to the entire country. He might have been expressing himself to be nice at a time when people were grieving. Those words he spoke have no truth or efficacy or power behind them at all. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. I am disgusted. What he had to say to the people of Maui and the former residents of LAHAINA are empty promises. Biden cannot deliver on those promises. There have been a lot of empty promises so far. Now, there's something else that everyone needs to know. They are still not calling this a wildfire. They are still not calling this a wildfire. They started calling they were calling it a wildfire after it first started. But that has stopped. And I think you all know what I think. And if you don't know what I think, you will tonight. This was not a wildfire. This is not a typical wildfire. This is not a wildfire at all. Not at all. And you need to know that. I'm certain that things should not have burned that burned. And houses and other things that did not burn should have burned. If this indeed was a wildfire, why were there buildings and homes in the middle of that fire that were untouched? Why? Hot embers were flying everywhere. The backwind from a former hurricane, actually it was not even a former hurricane, it was still a hurricane 500 miles away, was pulling air from the islands of Hawaii. And as a result, those winds were upwards of 65 miles per hour. 65 miles per hour. Tropical storm strength winds. We saw that in San Diego, in Los Angeles this past weekend. Those winds were fanning the flames. Yes. Absolutely. But this was not an actual wildfire. Now, the way that Biden and his entourage walked through the fire scene was not real. Like I said a few minutes ago, the first responders and the rescue teams had on face coverings. They had on breathing apparatus. None of the Bidens nor any of his entourage had anything on to protect them from breathing, to protect them from getting particles in their eyes, in their nose, in their mouths, on their skin. Yet the rescue personnel had on gloves, long sleeve shirts and jackets in some cases, and helmets and goggles. But none of these people did at all. If this is still a fire scene, which it is, with charred remains, everybody, with breezes blowing, even if it's a tropical breeze, which is usually the case on any of the islands of Hawaii, those charred remains and blowing ash would still be in that area. Why were these people not wearing something to protect themselves? Okay? Why were they not wearing something to protect themselves? During Biden's tour of LAHAINA. Now, folks, this is what gets me. This is what is under my skin right now. During his tour of LAHAINA, a first responder gave him something that he looked at and put in his pocket. No one knows what that object was, and nothing has been said about it since, not even in the MSM. What did that first responder give him and why? Inquiring minds want to know. There's video of it. If there's video of it, of course there is, and everyone there knows who it was. And that information should be available to all of us. Not coming from Mr. Biden, because we know there are lies coming out of that man. Now, Biden asked the firefighters and first responders if any of them had been affected or lost their homes in the fire. No one, not even one person, raised their hands or voiced any response or anything. No one said a word. Now, we know for a fact that both firefighters and law enforcement officers lost homes in the fire. Firefighters and law enforcement alike there in Maui lost homes in the fire. Yet nobody said a word. Why? Why? Now, something else that has come up that has baffled me, why Biden brought it up, saying that he knows what it means to lose someone. To lose someone. Referencing his ex-wife and a son who perished in a car crash. Perished in a car crash back in 1972, if I have it right. It wasn't a fire. I too have lost family members. But Biden losing his wife and a son in a car crash all those many years ago, I'm sorry, it does not fit with the fire narrative. It does not fit in the fire narrative, where thousands of people have either perished or they still have not checked in with their relatives or anybody else. Right now there's over 1,100 people that are missing, including children that we may never find, because that fire was hotter than anything else we've ever seen in a residential or business fire. Firefighters and rescue personnel have been through residential fires before and business fires and have recovered bodies. This fire, folks, like I said in the beginning, was not a normal wildfire. It was hotter than that. Yes, Linda says he had a son that he also lost to brain cancer. But again, why did he have to bring that up to say he knew what it was to lose a family member to a tragedy? Yeah, it was a lot of years ago. And yes, I feel sorry for him at that point. I did. When I found out that his wife and son had been killed in that car crash, yes, I did feel sorry for him. But here is a different situation. Why is he talking about it now? It has no business in this narrative. A car crash and losing a family member in that way has almost nothing to do with this fire. Biden said that the federal government will assist in the rebuilding of the island. Okay, how is the governor going to assist in rebuilding anything? Yes, they will provide money through FEMA. That's true. OBZRV says laser beam. That's possible. When I first brought it up 2 weeks ago, after the first fire started, and there was talk of that happening, I was told, Ron, shut up. That didn't happen. But now more and more information is coming out that leads me to believe that something happened that caused this fire. And I'm not saying just one fire or even 2 or 3 fires. Folks, I believe this was deliberately set. This fire was deliberately set. Now, in Biden's speech yesterday, he also referenced, and this really irks me to no end, and I'm being nice. Biden also referenced losing his '67 Corvette in a fire. I was flabbergasted. I was enraged. I was enraged. Losing his '67 Corvette had nothing to do with thousands of acres burning because of a fire. People's homes and businesses burning to the ground. People killed. That has nothing to do with the Corvette. Folks, I cannot give 2 craps about Joe Biden losing a Corvette in a fire. That is no comparison to losing your home and everything you had and losing family members in a fire. Sorry, this outrages me to no end. Yes, I'm asking a lot of questions. I'm trying, well, frankly, I already have some answers. But I'm putting it out to you. I'm trying to give you information so that you can find some answers as well. Because I believe that this entire country and this world needs real answers. And I don't think we're actually going to find out the truth. Because I'm going to give you some answers to my own investigation that I have been working on for several weeks now. Like I said, I can't give two craps about Joe Biden's 67 Corvette. I don't care. Something else that happened yesterday during his trip to Maui. He was in a meeting where he was supposed to be getting information on what happened. Biden fell asleep. Now, you can tell me that the man has dementia. You can tell me that he is old and feeble. You can try to make me feel guilty for what I am feeling and saying, but I'm not. This man is supposed to be the leader of our country. This man is supposed to be the leader of the free world. And he falls asleep during an emergency briefing. Dozes off. He's supposed to be there for the people. Wasn't he supposed to be there to show he was very concerned? So concerned that he fell asleep? West Maui and LAHAINA burned down. Houses and businesses burned down. Husbands and wives, parents and children are still missing. Family members still missing. What's going on here? Why did Biden reference his poor little 67 Corvette? Businesses and people unaccounted for, and he has no clue. Governor Gangrene Green has made some statements lately that are untrue. He has referenced a 15-minute city. Just before this fire happened, they announced that there would be a conference held, making Maui a 15-minute city, rebuilding it to be this beautiful city on a hill, run completely by only electricity, electric cars for anybody that could afford them. I'm sorry, people in LAHAINA and in Maui there, some of them could not even afford a golf cart. Those residents and citizens there got shuttled around by other neighbors, friends, residents, and family members to where they had to go. Meetings, schools, shopping. Maui and LAHAINA are allegedly going to be rebuilt without any Hawaiian citizens or residents having a say in how it is rebuilt. Fact. Yes, I'm a bit incensed. No, I'm angry. I am very, very angry. And you should be too. Everyone there in Hawaii and all over the United States should be incensed. Okay? there were many proclamations made by both the Lieutenant Governor and Gangrene Green. This is just one partial page of a 16-page document. This was actually the 6th proclamation relating to the wildfires on LAHAINA and Maui. Let me just read a partial part of it. You can find this on the internet, as well as the other proclamations made by the governor and lieutenant governor. There was even a proclamation made before the fire in Maui, where the governor was promising that same meeting where they were talking about the famous 15-minute city, turning Maui into a 15-minute city on the island, the first in Hawaii. This says, "By the authority vested in me by the Constitution and laws of the state of Hawaii, in order to provide relief for disaster, damages, losses, and suffering, and to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the people. I, Josh Green, MD," he's a medical doctor. This often happens. Congressmen and senators are also medical doctors. Josh Green, medical doctor, is governor of the state of Hawaii. Hereby determine, designate, and proclaim as follows. Whereas on August 8th, 2023, Acting Governor Sylvia Luke issued the proclamation relating to wildfires and declared a state of emergency to exist in the counties of Maui and Hawaii. Whereas August 9th, after wildfires spread considerably and burned a number of structures to the ground in and around LAHAINA, Acting Governor Sylvia Luke issued the 2nd proclamation relating to wildfires, which extended the emergency declaration to the entire state. Whereas, also on August 9th, Acting Governor Sylvia Luke issued the 3rd proclamation relating to the wildfires. Whereas on August 10th, I issued the 4th proclamation to the wildfires. There's a 16-page document where this came from, and you all can follow it on the internet. You can even find the document where he issued a proclamation to turn Maui into a 15-minute city. He had met with developers. Yes, folks, he had met with developers to turn Maui into a 15-minute city. It doesn't stop here, guys. It only gets worse from here. Yes, I'm angry. I'm even incensed. I am mad. And you have reason to be mad as well. Mad as heck. Fellow citizens of the United States and around the world, since we are a worldwide congregation here on Emergency Management Associates, if you had a fire that raced through your community and burned down your home, killed your family members and everywhere else, and you losing everything you ever had, what would you say when you hear Governor Green and the Mayor Bison of Maui, saying that they're going to do what they want to do what they want to do? I kid you not, guys. This is wrong. This is wrong on so many levels. A law was passed just a short while before the fire happened. that the elders of Hawaii, this is no joke, you can find this also on the internet. A law was passed just a short while ago, just prior to 2 weeks ago, literally, before this fire even happened, that said, quote, elders of Hawaii addressing the natives of Hawaii and those people over on Maui. Elders of Hawaii wanted to put into the law that developers cannot displace anyone that lives in that area unless there is a natural disaster. They're not calling this a wildfire. They're calling it a natural disaster. Elders of Hawaii wanted to put into the law that developers cannot displace anyone that lives in that area unless there is a natural disaster, unquote. That's in the law. This does not prove anything, but this should perk up your ears and get you to understand one thing. The developers and the politicians have been working behind the scenes here. I said over a week ago that I believed that something happened to start this fire. That something was not natural. At the time, I showed pictures sometime after August 8th or 9th. I showed pictures on this program and video images of things that happened during the fire that would not normally happen in or around a fire scene. Now, we have come to find out that these things have happened. These things have happened. The political leaders at the location, the governor, the mayor, and then the emergency manager resigning. The police chief, who is the incident commander over in Las Vegas when that deadly shooting happened in Vegas. That man was promoted to police chief here on Maui. He also may have had his fingers into what happened here on Maui. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, too many things, guys, lead me to believe that the developers are going to get what they want. For instance, and this is a true fact, there is a 50-acre plot that developers wanted to put in an area where there were a lot of other homes and businesses there before the fire started. High density housing, where there was no high density housing before, because there was homes and businesses there before the fire. Now that same area is decimated, burned out, destroyed by what they're claiming is a natural disaster. Now making that law easier for developers to go in and do whatever they want to Maui and LAHAINA. And I'm not stopping there. I'm not through at all. What would you say or think about what has happened? It's happened before, guys. Something nefarious is and has been going on. Something is and has been going on for quite some time. A little while ago I talked about water pressure disappearing after residents and others were trying to contain the fire with garden hoses. And they were doing it. They had actually contained the fire with garden hoses. Then they were told to leave the area, and the water was cut. Then the fire came in and destroyed everything after the water pressure stopped. Then we were told by the mayor and the governor that the electricity being brought down by the fire cut off the water pressure. Yes, folks, it sounds probable, because the pumping houses that round the pumps that pump the water to various areas of Maui and the wildfire area, the electricity has been cut. But I'm asking, what actually happened here? Was it indeed the electricity that was cut? And if it was cut, why? We want the truth here. We're asking for the truth. And yes, there are going to be some people, just like that famous movie where the Lieutenant Colonel of the Marine Corps said, "You can't handle the truth." Yes, we can. Scooter Pie is here in the chat, and I welcome her back. It's been a while since she's been here. She says, and I quote from the chat, "Everyone needs to stand up or we're going to lose everything." Scooter Pie is exactly right. We're going to lose everything. Diane Mayers is here in the chat. It says, "Do not mess with sacred ground." You're welcome, Scooter Pie. God bless you. Scooter Pie is a very dear friend of mine as well as a mod. She asked me a while back to take her mod off. I haven't, for a good reason. She hasn't been in the chat because she's had family issues, and I love that lady. She's done a great job for this channel. She's been a good friend of mine. Scooter Pie says we're not going to take it anymore, and I'm going to echo that charge. We are not going to stand down. We're not going to take it any longer. The people who are trying to defend their homes and their families had the water pressure die on them, yet they were containing the fire. What is the real story? One fire started, the fire department came in and put it out, and put out the hot spots. Then they went back to the firehouse to eat a well-deserved lunch. That was before noon. 20 minutes later, and you can go back and check the calls. You can go back and check the fire calls. It's public record. 20 minutes later, they get called out again to the same area, and the rest is history. They never made it back to the firehouse and were on the fire line for over, in some cases, 2 days in a row, working 24-hour shifts, sleeping a few hours, and going right back on the fire line to fight the fire. That in some cases, even now, 2 weeks later, is still raging. Why? Why? Biden promised the help from the military, and the military came in to help. Sikorsky helicopters from the Air Force and the Navy were made available to help put this fire out. Maui Fire had one helicopter. I understand a plane was also brought in. Why is this fire still not out? They said it was in the cleanup stages. It was contained. Why is it still not out? after 2 weeks. You tell me, why do you think what happened? Tell me what you think happened here. Now, I'm going to share with you what another firefighter said. And this is the truth. I know it for a fact. Because before I was a cop, I fought fires, wildfires in Southern California. Later, as a police officer, I established communication command posts at fires in Southern California. I worked with CAL FIRE. It was called another name before that. But I worked with them in establishing communication command posts and working with local fire departments as well, and law enforcement departments and sheriff's departments, and paramedics and EMTs. I made sure they had communications that they needed and deserved in helping to fight fires in Southern California. Now, this is what this firefighter said. In watching this video, you mentioned that you saw a large black plume of smoke at 10 a.m. The gentleman who was with you during the video said that the fire was out 5 hours ago. And he later confirmed that at 9 a.m. Again, as a firefighter for 30 years, I know everything there is about smoke. This is a firefighter speaking. The colors mean everything to us. When we are arriving at a scene, even en route, if we can see it, black smoke is from hydrocarbons burning. This cannot be caused by wood or grass or paper. The examples of hydrocarbons would be plastics, rubber from tires, gasoline, oils, furniture made from plastics. That's black smoke. So this is important information. If your friend says the fire was out completely after staying on scene for 4 to 5 hours after, then there would be no reason for the black smoke, would there be? This is unless hydrocarbons were part of the second fire. Hydrocarbons part of the second fire. If there was no car on fire or a house and nothing else in the area, then something is wrong with this picture. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is factual science and experience of over 30 years. Folks, I have maybe 15 years working around fires and fire departments. Why do they study smoke? Why do you think that he said why we study smoke is so we know what stage a fire may be in and how best to attack it? Heading to a fire with white smoke usually is a brush fire or a fire in the incipient stage of fire. Black smoke is usually heavily involved, and we know hydrocarbons are being released. Brownish smoke is usually the fire starving for oxygen, which means we need to vent the roof prior to entry into the building, because that could cause a backdraft as soon as we gain entry without a place for the smoke to go. All of these things are factual, and they help us keep us safe and help us to understand what the best method of attacking the fire should be. He said, I was a fire lieutenant, and it was my job to pay close attention to these things at all fires. But we are all trained, including fire privates, individual firefighters, because it is all our responsibility for watching for warning signs of smoke and heat changes. So this information should prove very valuable in this investigation. If nobody is even considering arson yet, then that is a total shame. He said, quote, this whole thing is a quote from him. He said, I was also a fire investigator inspector for my department. All fires are deemed arson until proven otherwise. There should be fire investigators investigating the scene of the fire. It should be very easy to locate the origin of the fire. Now get this. This is a very important part of this. This former fire lieutenant said, all fires burn in a V pattern. I have seen that myself. From the very point of origin, fires burn out in a V pattern. Why? Because the fire itself is claiming things to burn. It's burning other materials and gaining strength in burning those materials. All fires burn in a V pattern. He goes on, go back to the source and test for hydrocarbons in the soil, or look for the source of ignition. Fires do not just happen without an ignition source. An arcing fire could happen from a down power line for sure, as this other gentleman stated. The only source of hydrocarbons the only source of hydrocarbons, but not generate the amount of smoke that you were describing. We all saw video of the fires, especially the video of the people that were jumping into the water, into the harbor at LAHAINA. It was black smoke, consuming homes, consuming buildings, gasoline, cars. The only source of hydrocarbons would come from the lines themselves, but not generate the amount of smoke that they have been describing. Even a transformer fire would not produce the large plume of black smoke that they were describing. So in my professional opinion, something else was burning there. Here is an example of a transformer fire. If the plume of black smoke was larger than this, then I would say something else was burning and the cause of the fire. I pray they are investigating the source of the fire and not just cleaning up evidence. The governor himself said that it may take up to a year or more to totally clean up this fire area. A year or more to clean up this fire area. Now, as I said near the beginning of this program tonight, I am outraged, and should be very clear to all of you that I am outraged. Scooter Pie put something else in the chat that you all need to know. Wildfires burn at 1,427 degrees. We saw cars melt. We saw melted metal of cars that had been burned. Cars melt Scooter Pie put in here, at 4,700 degrees. That is verified evidence. I verified it. Windshields burn at 3,500 degrees. Did you guys ever see any glass on any of those cars or trucks anywhere? Not one. Door handles melted. Cars melted. Interiors of cars melted and were burned. Bones burned. Flesh burned. Scooter Pie says, I believe I saw with a fire expert on YouTube. Yes, absolutely, Scooter Pie. Absolutely. The melted metal was running down the driveways. Scooter Pie put it here, and I saw it. I am outraged regarding all the lies and the outright contempt that the politicians have for the people, the native and the elders of Hawaii, and everyone else on the island. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters here, LAHAINA was the capital of Hawaii for a long time. It was a center of the Hawaiian people. It was a sacred area. A sacred area. And it burned down to the ground. Just a week or so prior to that, Gangrene Green, the governor of Hawaii, Josh Green, signed a law that developers could not go into LAHAINA or anywhere else to develop that community that they wanted to develop unless it was an area where a former disaster area had burned and destroyed. Now look what happened. I'm outraged. I'm enraged. I'm pissed. Yeah, they want to build a 15-minute cities and round all of us up all over the country. This is happening in Washington, it's happening in Oregon, it's happening in California, and it's happening all over the United States and all over the world. They want to round us up. They want to eliminate probably 50% of the population of this world, and then herd all the rest of us into 15-minute cities and control us. Now, 2 weeks ago, I was asked and I was told that I would tell the people on the island and the world. And I told the powers that be that I would tell the story and I would tell the truth that would come out. And that's exactly what I'm doing tonight. I had every intention to talk about the Pacific Northwest and volcanoes, and possibly even Southern California. Instead, I devoted this program to telling the true story of what happened on the island of Maui, Hawaii. I'm telling the story because I hope the real truth does get out. I hope LAHAINA and the area of West Maui can be rebuilt for the people, not the developers, for the people. And I hope the people that have been displaced and their families that lost loved ones, I hope and pray that they will receive the help that they so earnestly deserve. They deserve it, and they need it. Not the measly $700 that FEMA said that they would get in the initial expense to them. $700 will not go very far. It probably won't even go for a week, considering the people have to have clothing, and those people lost everything but the shirt on their backs. I saw an interview today by Eric West, who interviewed a couple from his home on Maui. A couple that were still wearing the shirts on their back. The very shirts on their back that they've had on for 2 weeks now. They had children, and they got out. Thousands of people did not get out. Thousands of people did not get out. Now finding out the politicians are in it up to their necks. The people are crying desperately out, needing help. And the only people that are helping are the locals helping each other. And the people from the mainland that are sending their hard-earned dollars to help. Not to the Red Cross anymore, because the Red Cross gets the money and they decide how they're going to distribute it, but they take their fair share first. Yesterday I heard a church, a very well-known church all over the world, sent the Red Cross $1 million to help the families on Maui. How much of that is going to get to the people who actually need it? Because now I know damn well that the Red Cross gets their share before anybody else does. If you all are donating any money to help Hawaii, give it to the local areas that I talked about last week. I gave you GoFundMe pages. I gave you quite a few other places that you could send money to help those wonderful people on Hawaii that are so desperate for food and clothing. And even if those monies are collected by government officials, those monies are not getting to the people. If you're giving money to FEMA, guess what? That money is not getting to the people. The government is taking it. Last week we talked about private boats bringing supplies to LAHAINA and having to break through barricades to bring in supplies. That is still going on. Folks, well-meaning people trying to bring in supplies and even fully cooked meals are not being let into LAHAINA or anywhere else. One person who had over 250 meals to serve people there in LAHAINA was not allowed to go in with the food because they did not have a food handler's permit. What is wrong with this picture? What's wrong with this picture? Private boats going into LAHAINA to bring people food. And yes, that is one way that is working. Some people are getting in. Let me tell you about something that is gotten to be known. and has been known since last week. On the day of the fire, on August 8th, there was a police officer on the main roadway that was leading out of West Maui and LAHAINA at the far end of the roadway, the end of the line to safety, and he was not allowing people to leave the area. And now, to find people that have died in their cars waiting to get out of LAHAINA and West Maui, seeing the burned cars and the remains, knowing darn well, and I'm trying to be nice, knowing darn well what happened. People died in those damn cars because an order was issued to that police officer and possibly others to not allow anybody out. What the hell is wrong here? Some people jumping from their cars that have waited in their cars, some people jumping from the cars into the water to save their lives. What is wrong with this picture? Scooter Pie says they're looking for clues in the Canadian fires. Look it up on YouTube. The man on YouTube is a fire expert. I know that to be a fact. Folks, I have always told you that I would give you the truth, and I have. Now, I am an ex-cop, a former cop. I put in a lot of years as a police officer. Yes, I had a very bad, ugly, wrong, law-breaking chief. Now, I can't get over the idea of police blocking the road, which was a path to safety. I'm asking the question, and I want some answers out of Maui. Who is responsible for that? Who gave the order to the Maui Police Department officers to shut down that road and not let anyone out? Charges need to be filed and prosecuted for this. I am calling for the police chief's resignation immediately. I know for a fact that there are people on the island of Hawaii watching this program. I am asking for the governor of Hawaii to resign. I'm asking for the mayor of Maui, Mayor Bisson, to resign. I am asking for the police chief to resign. The emergency manager, Aveyah, resigned. He had ordered the sirens to be silenced on Maui. The very sirens that could have saved people's lives. Yes, folks, they had audible sirens, but they also could have issued a voice warning not to go to the mountains because that's where the fire was coming from, to head to the ocean and away from the fire. Why was the police department giving orders to shut down that roadway and not let anyone out? I would like to have answers from Aveyah, the emergency manager, why he gave the order to shut down the sirens. And I want honest answers. No, I don't want. I demand honest answers. The people of Hawaii deserve to know the truth. And nobody should silence that truth. It needs to come out, and it needs to come out immediately. And the people responsible need to be prosecuted. Bison, the governor, and even the former emergency manager who gave the order. Why was he given the order? Why was he told to not let the sirens go? I can't believe that one man would have made that decision. Why? If he was one man, why did he say that? He said he retired for health reasons. I don't believe that for 1 minute. A man that was trying to save others. A man that was trying to save others was severely burned. He was rushed by paramedics to a hospital. He was transferred to a Oahu hospital to be treated. A few days later, he died of his injuries in the burn unit from helping others. Yes, I have some issues. The people of Hawaii, the people of Maui, should have issues. These people should be charged, and if convicted, should be sent to prison for a very good long time. Why was the water turned off? Those people have questions to answer, and they need to give honest answers. Why? Who issued the order for the water to be turned off, and why? I don't believe the narrative that the fire burned the electrical wires and the facilities to cause the pumps to shut down. I don't believe that at all. Not anymore. I have seen a lot of things. I've done my own investigation. Governor Green, Mayor Bison, and even the emergency manager on Maui have egg on their face, and I asked the mayor and the governor to resign immediately. He said the reason he resigned was for health reasons. Why were the sirens not deployed? He said because they usually are used for tsunamis. Granted, but they also had voice communication capability. He said the sirens would send people to the wrong direction, in the wrong direction, away from a tsunami. That could be correct. But they also could have been used to turn people away from the fire. How many people have perished because they received no warning? How many children perished while their parents were at work? How many people did not receive the warning? People sometimes at work turn off their phones, or at least put them away until later where they can look at their phones. How many people died? How many people have died? I'm asking. Those sirens could have transmitted a voice message to tell the residents and people of LAHAINA and Maui to evacuate, and the roads to take to evacuate. Why did the police shut it down? Mr. Police Chief, I don't remember your name right now, but you should be resigning as well. And you also should be turning yourself in to be charged as a co-conspirator for murder of thousands of people. The police should not have been keeping people from being evacuated. If the police chief has eggs on his face and he issued the order to his officers to stop people from leaving, he should be arrested for accomplice conspiracy to murder. Governor Green, Mayor Bison should resign and criminally charged by prosecutors that should investigate their actions about this event. They, in the very least, should do this. and the evidence should come out and be done. If necessary, a trial should be had, and these individuals should be held responsible for these crimes. The law that Governor Green signed supposedly to help the native elders, the very people that were in charge in LAHAINA, has now given the developers the green light to turn LAHAINA and Maui into the first 15-minute electric city in Hawaii. Now, that's not all. Jeanette's here in the chat saying, was it depopulation or real estate issue? I say both. After just the investigation that I have personally done from a distance, both. They have been attempting depopulation here in the United States and elsewhere, and also real estate, condemning property so the government can take it over, condemning property and usually giving face value of the property to the people that own it. But in this case, the property was destroyed, and now developers can come in and do with it what they will, because Governor Green signed the law that allowed it. Fact. Lamb is Light in the chat says, I've got to go to friends. Pray for each other. We have lots of heartache, and in this world, it's truly upside down. And she's right. But news, breaking news. Zuckerberg and Oprah Winfrey are being investigated regarding the Maui fires. Both Zuckerberg and Oprah Winfrey are being investigated with the Maui fires. I am furious. Zuckerberg, if you're guilty in any way, shape, or form, you need to go to jail. You need to be arrested. You need to turn yourself in to the authorities for what you've done. And if not, you should be arrested and let the authorities determine whether you should stand trial for your crimes. Oprah, the same thing goes for you. Yes, I am furious, guys. I am worse than furious. I am angry, and everybody should be as well. I gave my word when I started this channel 4.5 years ago. Before the powers that be, I believe they're the ones that took over my last channel that had 25,000 subscribers. And then I opened up another channel here, where now I have over 1,600 subscribers and growing daily. Please, folks, if you're here for the first time, please subscribe to this channel. And when you do, click on that little bell icon. Now it's a little bell icon. It used to be bigger. Now it's a tiny little bell in the middle of a circle. Click on that. And when you do that, also click on the word ALL. That should get you notified when we come on the air. But be aware, that's not always the case, because this venue of Google YouTube, yes, Google owns YouTube, they don't always notify you when we come on the air. It's a proven fact. Also, please continue checking your subscriptions and make sure you're still subscribed to this channel. This venue also unsubscribes people at will. They told me a long time ago, oh, it's only people that left YouTube. It's a lie. I know a fact for over 4.5 years, I've been told by people, friends of mine, close friends of mine, that they have to keep subscribing to this channel because YouTube is unsubscribing them. So folks, please subscribe to this channel. Keep checking your subscriptions even on a weekly basis. That should also help you get notified when we come on the air. Tonight I came on the air 2 hours later than I normally do. Again, I was completing my investigation for this very day, this very program. I gave you my word, like I said 4.5 years ago, that I would give you the truth, and I have. Now, I backed down for a time because I also promised the leaders on Hawaii that I would give the people the message that they wanted to get out. And now to find out we were all lied to. That is the ultimate unforgiving quality here. We were all lied to. Raymond Roy Sr. says they also block you. He was in the chat saying they also block you. Yes, they do. Yeah, I'm a little bit, no, not a little bit, I am very pissed. And if some of you don't like that word, I'm sorry. But there's a reason. And I have given you every reason. Bruce Wonky Rogue Looney says YouTube video and smart meters aided the speed of the fire. You're right. Those smart electrical meters, most of the electrical companies use them, attach them to your house so they can monitor your electrical and gas consumption from a distance. They can also cause fires. It's a proven fact. That's a proven fact. Folks, I wanted to give you this information because I believe there's been a wrong done. A lot of people have been hurt. A lot of people have died as a result of inept, lying politicians, including the man in Washington, D.C. I'm not threatening anybody's lives, but I'm going to tell you this. We all are going to get to the bottom of this. And anybody that's even affiliated with this crime, I pray that you're going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. That you can take to the bank. We all are going to be making sure of that. And to the politicians there in Hawaii, you need to resign immediately. Folks, that's all I have for you tonight. I'm sorry this was not what I had originally planned to do. As I gained further and further information today, I thought to myself, this has to get out, and this has to get out tonight. I didn't think I had any other way to go. So if you didn't get what you hoped I would give you tonight, I'm sorry. I will try to make it up the rest of the week. Tomorrow night, I hope to have my friend Barry Prince from Canada here on the air with me to talk about what's going on in Canada, and I fully support him. And I hear he's going to tell us the truth of what happens. And he does every time he's been on this program. And yes, we're going to try to be sensitive, but we're also going to tell you the truth. Everybody needs the truth. We have people from Canada that need to know the truth, and they're here on this channel. And those people that are here right now from Canada, tell your friends to be here tomorrow night, because we are going to tell you the truth about what's going on in Canada tomorrow night. I hope you are here with us. Folks, as I have said before, and I'll say it again, I love each and every one of you. Before you leave tonight, please give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed what you heard on this program. Well, whether you enjoyed it or not, tell us. Leave a comment beneath our program description tonight. Leave us a comment about what I said and what news I gave you and what you think. I truly want to know. Please give us a thumbs up. Let us know you appreciate it. Now, before I leave, I want to give some appreciation to some people who donated to our channel to keep us on the air. Juan and Vicky Ortega from Portland, Oregon sent me this beautiful card and sent us some money to keep this channel on the air. I learned a long time ago that it takes money to keep this channel on the air, and it's becoming increasingly more expensive to do that. But I'm thankful for all of you. I got another beautiful card of support from a great lady and her husband in Littleton, Colorado, my former home in Colorado. A beautiful card. Praying for you. A very beautiful card. She sent a letter, and she said she sent an inscription in the card. Ron, with a wish and a hope and a simple prayer, asking God to keep you in His care. Our hearts and ears are right with you. But most of all, Ron, our prayers are with you. Warmly, Nancy and Bill from Littleton, Colorado. Thank you so much, my friends, and may God bless you for all that you do to help us to stay on the air. Your letter and your card means the world to me. Last but not least, a friend of ours from just 30 miles away in a town called Lenoir, North Carolina. Lenoir, North Carolina. Just 30 miles away. Sent me another card. We've got 2 words for you. Thank you. With some dogs. You all know that I love dogs. She sent me a note. For doing what you do, for being who you are, for giving us so many reasons to be glad. Here's you. With love and appreciation, Lori, from Lenoir, North Carolina. She also sent us a check helping us with support for my medical needs and also to keep us on the air here on YouTube. I greatly appreciate that. And thank you ever so much for all of you sending cards and letters. I used to get 2 or 3 cards and letters a week. For the past 2 or 3 weeks, I maybe got 1 package. And when I've gotten a card, I've acknowledged that here on the air. I greatly appreciate the cards and letters of support. I greatly appreciate all of your support that you give us also on Venmo and PayPal. Those are down below in the program description as well, at the top of the program description, as well as our P.O. Box. P.O. Box 422. P.O. Box 422. Valdese, Valdese, North Carolina. Zip code is 28690. I appreciate all that you have done for me, and I appreciate everything that you continue to do for me. I thank you for that. You guys have helped me support my fishing addiction. You've helped me with my rock collection. You have helped me with my model train collection as well. Because one day I will have a model train running around my office, and I will share that with you as well. I want to thank you for everything that you've done for me. I ask the Lord to bless you. God bless you. God be with you. May God be with you this day and always. That's been my prayer for all of you since day one. God be with you until we meet again. Good night, everybody. We will see you around the corner. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back on the air with it as soon as the information becomes available. Until then, we will see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody. I love you. Bye-bye.